Hello friends, welcome to Exampur. I hope my voice is audible, screen is visible, everything is set. If everything is set, please do let me know so that I can continue with the session. So today we are going to study about the article given in the form of need which is required for the economy. Economic requirement beyond the liberalization. What do you mean by liberalization? First thing you need to know about it. What do you mean by liberalization? Okay, what do you mean by liberalization? Free. You need to have the free access. Okay, free access, you should not keep restricted portion under the territory. Okay, this is the opinion piece. Can note down a few unique suggestions. What do we mean by it? Suppose if we are talking about the economic reform that has to go beyond the economic reform, right? Economic reform, if we are talking about, in what context we need to talk about the periphery. Okay, we need to talk about, we just have to eliminate or mitigate the level of restrictions, first of all. Second is all about, we have to provide the free access. That is what meaning is there for the liberalization we are talking about. And next, context, in what context we need to just talk about, that is the pandemic recovered economy. Like if we are reviving the economy, we have to just provide a kind of a wave of stimulus for the private investors so that economy could get revived. Okay. Next is all about reforms, and this reform has to be beyond liberalization. It has to go beyond that so that our economy could go boosted. Okay. Liberalization means the loosening of the government control. Yes, we have to just make the restrictions slower in pace, plus we have to mitigate it as much as possible so that an investor could get instinct to work on that mode. Okay. So issue with liberalization, no doubt we need more capital, more integration if we are talking about with respect to economy. What is the demand oriented sectors? We have to just maintain the integration. Okay. Things has to be interconnected in the economy. If the things are interconnected, means it is leading to demand. The more integration is there, you will get to see more demand in the sectors. And more capital, if there would be no more integration, more interconnectivity between the sector, there would be no more demand, more requirement for the production would come into the picture. So what we are trying to focus over here is we would require more capital in that periphery. IMFWB, holy trinity of structural, land, labor and market opening reforms harm many domestic citizens and beyond a point runs into severe resistance. Like it bears the large political cost. Yes, if things are going delayed, if things are stucking up, it has to continuously making elliptical cost in the scenario. What do we mean by the overloading cost? Which is getting delayed, which is just getting the recycling of the cost, increasing the political cost due to the delay in process. Liberalization reaching a point of diminishing return. Liberalization, if you are just, what do we mean by liberalization? I have just told you about free access in the surrounding. We are talking about, you are just eliminating the restrictions over the point. Plus, you are just making the consideration of diminishing return. Even liberalization is leading to the competition between the investors. If there is competition, that is somewhere leading to the efficiency. Okay, there is somewhere efficiency in the economy. Okay, so there would be diminishing return. is occurring. So we are expecting that we should go beyond the liberalization. We at somewhere we are just talking about the creative economy and the technological aspect. We are trying to make the point here. Next is all about recent liberalization is all about. We are trying to make the banks liberalize. In the form, we are trying to make the privatization of bank in order to create the competition in the scenario. PSB, we are just raising the question on PSB. Though we are already aware about the fact, it is making the association of the policies. Okay, it is making the association of the policies with the funding. Okay, if those funding is being allocated in the policy framework, what do we mean by it? That policy would be implemented just because there is already availability of the resources. Getting my point? So PSB governance is rising as per the scene, and risk-based lending profile and NPA ratio have fallen. NPA ratio have fallen in case if we are making the comparison between PSBs and the private banks. So if we are making comparison between both the segments, what you get to know over here is that if private banks would be having less NPA in comparison to PSBs, would be having less NPAs in comparison to PSBs. Why is it so? Private banks do have the competition level. They are just working for the motive of profit maximization. Their main criteria is not to just expand the base just to create the welfare, but their main intention is to spread over the customers, provide the best quality out of the competition base, which is making profits for them. Okay, so some there they are examining the profiles of investors and they are examining the profiles of debtors thoroughly in comparison to PSBs. And PSBs loan are also moving towards the priority lending sector, which occupy approximately 40% of the resources in the banks. Okay, means fundings are already reserved for particular sector, which is not at all in case of private banks, because private banks are not at all working for the aim of welfare. Okay, that is what we are trying to talk about. Next is all about, this is where we are establishing the competition. This is where we can just make the judgment of the quality framework by the NPA. Okay, rupee should be completely market determined. Okay, rupee should be completely market determined in picture. Market determined, what do we mean by fall in the exchange rate of the rupee? What do we mean by it? It is falling. You can just imagine rupee from 8 rupees, man, in 1990s, and it has gone to 80 rupees in 2022. We are just standing right now. You can just make the analysis that in these years, in these 32 years, it has expanded by 10 times. And what do we mean by rupee decline over here? What do we mean by rupee decline here? Brought about the sustained rise in, currently has not brought about sustained rise in exports. What do we mean by it? Import somewhere exceeds the export. Okay, somewhere exceeds the export. So rupee fall, what do we mean by rupee fall from 8 to 80 rupees, which is making what? It is making impact on export and import. It is making impact on export and import. And import is becoming what? Cheaper in excess. Hereby, country can take advantage. Country can take advantage out of the competition. Okay, and import is becoming expensive. Out of which import bill is rising continuously. Okay, these two formations are there, or it has increased by 10 times. Okay, what are we trying to say over here by the rupee fall? Like, we are trying to make the things liberalization, and out of liberalization, such kind of disparity is occurring continuously. 10 times rupee fall has come into the picture, and UK economy has gone down to 6th position from the 5th one, and out of that situation, Indian rupee has taken the advantage. Like, Indian economy has taken the advantage by occupying the 5th position. What we are trying to say over here is, if we were at the same condition, if we are not going to be at this position, if we would have not attained the position of 80 rupees, and we were at 10 to 20, between 10 to 20 rupee of the state, we were able to export, we were able to import 4 units in comparison to the 1 unit today. That kind of comparative analysis you can have a glance of. Okay, that kind of comparative analysis you can have a glance of. This is what we are trying to. Recent liberalization suggestion issues. What is the main problem occurring in the picture? That is, with the scenario of domestic economy, things are getting privatized, and out of this reason, if the resources are becoming privatization, means somewhere we are moving towards capitalism, moving towards capitalism, which is somewhere raising the level of inequality, which is raising the level of inequality. Next, rupee should be completely market determined. What do we mean by? Again, capitalism works on the basis of demand and supply. If the things are working on the basis of demand and supply, earlier we used to see it as the a value of the $1 that was used to be equals to 8 rupee. Now it has shifted to the 80 rupees. Means rupee fall has been there. Like rupee fall, out of which reason continuously import exceeds the import, which is making import bill dearer. Okay. Next point is all about what is needed, what is the real requirement. What is needed here is interconnectivity. Okay, focus on the digital aspect. If we are talking about the interconnectivity, which is raising the access, it is enabling us to raise the accessibility, where in India has comparative advantage. India has comparative advantage over what? Digital aspects. Why is it so? Because we are performing so well in software line, and consider ourselves as the representative hub before the global economy, if we do talk about the software. And supply chain diversification away from China. Supply chain diversification, what do we mean by supply chain diversification? We do have alternative, so that nobody can hold the monopoly over their product. If they are not in condition to hold that monopoly, means somewhere customers can take the advantage out of the segment. Okay, so it is also enabling a kind of power in the hand of customers. Getting my point? By making the diversification in the supply chain. Okay, it is making the diversification in the supply chain, enabling the customers having more options, more alternatives. Moving to net zero economy, yes, harnessing green initiatives. As we are already known about 5 fundamentals put forward by the COP26, what that is all about. We are trying to make the expansion till 500 gigawatt by the renewable energy, trying to have the energy segment in 50% of the share by the renewable energy. Yes, we can do it. Third is all about we are just trying to decline the carbon intensity, but by the $1, like $1 billion tons. And what we are establishing the target for the net neutrality, that is 2070. Okay, so developing the skills and capacity in order to decline the pace of diminishing return, because technology and productivity gaining, whatever gain you are acquiring in the productivity task, that is somewhere declining the pace of diminishing return, which can make addition to the economical output. Okay, so what is the requirement? Just to increase the access, just to have the access of diversification, enables the customers having more options and alternatives, and net zero economy, which we have kept in the COP26, and developing the skills and capacity which can raise the productivity part, improving the employability, and augmenting the infrastructure. Okay, augmenting the infrastructure, reducing the logistic and other business cost by giving the things under the private hands, which are establishing the competition. Competition leads to more and more supply, and more supply leads to less cost. Less cost, it is making the things affordable, enhancing the quality of governance, improving the data. As we are making a shift towards digitalization, which is somewhere increasing the transparency. Transparency somewhere leads to increasing the transparency, leads to standardization in the codes, accountability, and which gives a kind of confidence for quality. Okay, improve data use, privacy, and functioning of the code and policy. Next is all about what kind of question could be raised out of the segment. That is, link it with basics of liberalization. Yes, okay, we link it. Narasimha Committee report with the reference to Indian economy after 1991. Economic liberalization, consider the following statement. You can just read it and try to give answer. What could be the answer for the same? Worker productivity increased in urban area while it decreased in rural area. Second is all about percentage percentage share of rural area in workforce steadily increased. In rural area, growth in non-farm economy increased. And fourth is all about growth rate in rural employment decrease. Which of the following is considered as correct option? What is the correct option for the same? Link it with the basics. We have to just link it with the basics. Worker productivity increased in urban area, it decreased in rural area. Is it so? If we are making comparison with 2004 and 5, can we talk about the worker productivity? And that's too on the basis of urban and the rural one. The percentage share of rural in household, like workforce, steadily increase with reference to Indian economy liberalize. At the time of 1991, we are talking about rural economy, growth in non-farmer sector. Yes, we can just talk about because competition has gone up. That might take place in the segment. And growth rate in rural employment decreased. Is it possible? Yes, rural growth rate has declined because at that time there was the shift in the employment level towards the other sector. So that it could be the possible situation that could come into the picture. So you are talking about these two segments. If where we are known about the fact these two are working somewhere. So 3, 4 are there simultaneously only in one option. You can just make the analysis of. Okay. Just you can make the analysis of. So LPG reform, it is inevitable that rural and workforce started shifting towards. This is what I was talking about. That there was a little bit shift in the transformation of employment. We were shifting towards other non-farming sectors, trying to losing the burden on the agriculture sector toward, and we were trying to shift the burden towards the other domain. If we are trying so, somewhere it is increasing the level of employment in non-farming sector. Okay, or this is what leaving the sector in a very idle domain. Okay, agriculture sector if we are talking about, we are leaving that agriculture sector stagnant, or we are declining that from the level of employment, and we are trying to shift those workers into the other domain. So 3 and 4 would be the complementary to each other factor. Steady transition to the urbanization over the year is leading to, we cannot just claim to have the productivity rise. Okay, there was the competition, and with the consideration of liberalization, yes, we expect that efficiency was there, but we cannot just make a claim of having the workers' productivity raise. Okay, which of the following has and have occurred in India after its liberalization of economic policy in 1991? UPSC 2017, it has been asked. Share of agriculture sector in GDP increased. Yes or no? Share of agriculture sector. We are talking about just 1991, and share of agriculture in GDP increased enormously. Is it so? And second is all about exports in world trade increase. Can we claim to have that? And FDI inflow increased, and inflow can be in any sense, whether it be about capital formation, whether it be about investment part and the FPOs, foreign portfolio investors, things can be accommodated in any sense. Next is all about India's foreign exchange reserve increased enormously. Okay, what is the tricky portion if we are trying to make the sense out of the segment? That B would be the correct answer, and B is if you might have heard in the first question, I've just discussed it earlier. Liberalization is the result. Liberalization. Out of this, competition was the result. Out of competition, supply was increased. Okay, supply was increased. Second is all little bit shift from agriculture towards the other segment. So why would be having the growth in agriculture sector normally? Okay, so we have to just eliminate this part. And yes, like foreign countries started making investments in our country, it would be considered as FDI investment or expo like exchange. This could be taken as the compliments. If inflows are rising, reserve has to go up. And exports in the world trade, we have just expanded the base of our market space. So export base has increased. So 2, 3 and 4 would be the correct answer. So what it was all about, the article was talking about the basically 2 or 3 pointers. We are going to discuss over here. What is the need of economic reform? That is the pandemic, whatever kind of revival situation is there. If we have what we are required to do in order to revive the situation, that issue, what is the issue with the situation? What kind of like things are getting rise and like diminishing returns we are achieving? So if the cost is rising, definitely it has to occur the diminishing return, which is somewhere overcoming, or which is somewhere like giving a point that is leading to diminishing return. What do we mean by diminishing return? We can come out of this diminishing return out of technology. We can just decline it by increasing the technology advancement. Okay, increasing the technology advancement. And this large political cost leads to the diminishing return in the capital formation. What is the R of need for our country? That is whatever level on the domestic zone, we are trying to make the banks more and more privatized. If we are making more and more privatized, trying to make a move towards the capitalization, which is somewhere raising the level of inequality, because capitalism is not at all well set for a country like us. Secondly, what we were at the time of 1991, like when we have come across the word LPG, we were just having the domain of per dollar equals to, which was making equals to 8 rupees. Now we have come at 80 rupees, 10 time increment you have seen, which is somewhere exceeding the import over the export. Okay, this 10 times upgradation increment is making the effect on export and import both. Export is becoming cheaper day by day, and import is becoming expensive day by day. Export, somewhere a country can take the advantage over the situation, but we are somewhere declining on it. And import can take the you can just make the addition in the import bill if continuously dollar is becoming expensive for us, because we are making trade in terms of dollars only. And what is the needed situation? What we are trying to do is exchange rate, if we do talk about, that is becoming expensive. So what we are required to do, we need to make the connectivity. If we have to make the connectivity, if we have to raise the access, what we need to accommodate, that is digitalization. So that options could be expanded. We are trying to work on the diversification of the supply chain. If there would be more diversification in the products, power of bargaining would be there in the hand of customers. Getting my point? Power of bargaining would be in hand of customers. Next is all about net zero economy. If we do talk about the net zero economy, we are working on that principles and developing skills and capacity. These are the needed pointers we need to work on. And if we are making the supply chain diversification, obviously, if production is going up, they would require more labor to get employed. So employment is going to go up. And what is required to maintain proper production level or the investment level? What is required for that sake? It would require proper infrastructure so that surrounding can give a kind of stimulus to the private investor to work in that periphery. And if you will get to see more and more competition and private investors are taking place, and out of that competition, supply is going to up, supply is going to make the cost down. Okay, cost is going to down. Okay, if cost is going down or it has become more profit oriented, enhancing the quality, obviously competition is leading to the supply increment, which is establishing the base for quality, which is becoming a favorable factor for the customers. So it is also in making the increment in the efficiency level, which is somewhere beneficial for the customers. So this is not at all qualitative in the governance. Obviously, if there is governance factor, it is any day advantageous for the customers. What do you mean by governance? Means things are being accommodated as per the responses and fundamentals of customers. Obviously, so digitalization, this is why I have written the point. If there is digitalization, more and more standardization is there. Transparency you will get to see. Transparency will create a zone of accountability. If the things are accountable, means things would be more secure. If things would be more secure, what would you do that? Like it would establish the quality on the side of supply, on the supply side, and improve the data use, privacy, and the functions of court and police all will work on the working mode. These kind of questions could be asked with reference to liberalization. This is how static part of the point works. Okay, liberalization, the things all are going on the format of liberalization, or it has been asked in 2020. And next question, what I am going to ask, that is again in 2017. And just in the years of in the difference of 2 years, there was question from the same topic. So liberalization, this questions has been asked. What is the question? That liberalization policy, Narasimha committee, out of the liberalization, what has been the equipped answer for that same? Liberalization, is it concerned with the worker productivity we have ever talked about, and the share of rural area in workforce steadily increase? You can just imagine, liberalization has expanded the base where rural grounds or urban grounds. We are trying to loosen the burden in agriculture or in industrial sector, because lots of people are already involved in the agriculture sector, obviously, or we were trying to decline that burden so that that burden could be shared by other sector. What we have acquired in liberalization. Okay, so in rural area growth in the non-farming, we were trying to make a shift from the agriculture to non-agriculture sector. So third could be considerate answer. Growth rate in the rural area decreased. Growth rate in the rural area decreased. Yes, it do take place because we have made a kind of shift towards the non-farming sector. So it has to go down. So third and fourth, where these answers are accommodated in the option. So 1 and 2 would not be there because 3 and 4 is absent in this. 4 is there, but third is absent. You have to just cross it. And third is there, fourth is not there. So third would be crossed. Okay, only B would be accommodated option for the same. Next portion, you can just talk about which of the following have occurred in India after liberalization. You can just imagine with the 2 years difference. Within the 2 years difference, the question has been asked from the same topic, and you can just imagine the importance of this topic. Out of the liberalization in 1991, or it has been asked in 2017, that share of the agriculture sector, yes, we have made a kind of shift from the agriculture to non-farm sectors. We have made a kind of shift from agriculture to non-farming sector, and share of India's export in world trade increase. Yes, we have expanded the market base. We have expanded the market base in the periphery. Second is correct. Lots of countries have made a kind of investment in our country, due to which reason reserves have increased enormously. So these 3 options has to be right. Okay. So what is there in news related to Poshan Abhiyan? What has been asked? Are we so nutritious that we are not required to make allocation of the funding towards the needed section? Is it so? This is not so. So things went unutilized, more than half of the fund. This is huge, man. If more than half of the fund going unutilized in case of Poshan Abhiyan, where the things are getting so distorted in the economy. Every day we are talking about integrated child development services. Every day we are talking about the food security program and midday meals. Nowadays, continuously there are continuously articles about this segment, and on other hand, we are just talking about unutilized money of such kind of schemes. Is it a worthwhile condition in Indian economy? Not at all. We have to go by the norms of, we have to just go by the target which has been set by sustainable development. We have to mitigate the poverty part. We have to mitigate the hunger. Then only we can establish the equality part. Okay, health sector has to be improved if we have to build the capacity, if we have to increase the if we have to increase the capacity, productivity, you need to make the upgradation in the mitigation in the hunger part. Context: more than half of the fund for Poshan Abhiyan for unutilized. Fourth progress report released by the Niti Aayog. You can just imagine that what kind of scenario is going on. What are the key findings we need to study relevant to this topic? These are the key findings. Utilization of fund, less than half of the fund are utilized. This we are making consideration of. Mobile phone on monitoring devices. States and union territories with poor distribution of mobile phone growth monitoring devices emerge as the low fund utilization. At times, in order to make the digitalization, what we are trying to do is we are trying to expand the base for the program with the help of mobile phones. If we are making expansion in digitalization, and every you can just imagine mobile phone penetration is continuously expanding the base. If the mobile phone penetration is going up, it is somewhere making the upgradation in the demand scenario. Okay. So, Poshan Abhiyan Fund, 3 states had used more than 50% of the Poshan Abhiyan Fund between 2017-18 and 18-19. Improved the marginally to 12 between 2017-18 and 19-20. So, what we are trying to do, we have to just increase the access with the help of digitalization. Digitalization can be used to increase the access, and if it is increasing the so that funds could go utilized. Okay. So system readiness capability intervention which has improved comparatively, and where we are working thoroughly, that is human resources, which is increasing the capacity in that domain. This is creating the area and surrounding in which you have to just work, which is building the capacity again. Supplies, giving a kind of security. You need to just improve the base on that part. Training and capacity building. The system readiness capabilities intervention. This has been improved in comparison to the last report you can talk about. Performance is based on 0 to 100 only. Punjab scored less than 50 among the last states. Okay. Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Mizoram were the poor performer among the small states, and no UT scored less than 50. Okay. So less than 50 has been only scored by Punjab. So what are the real indicators working on this mode, that how human capital, human resources in order to build the capacity, or infrastructure, what kind of surrounding is there, supplies, how much things are available. This is showing the availability field, if this is available or not, and if the proper training has been provided to personals or not. Such kind of things has been accommodated. Report listed 5 key elements of Poshan Abhiyan. Okay. So 5 key pointers. Impact package is all about first 1000 days of child life. Okay. So high impact package of intervention, first 1000 days of a child. You can just talk about nearly 3 years we are talking about. Technology management, So strengthen the delivery system, like increasing the access over here, nearly 3 years. 3 year first is for children, second is for access frontline worker, just to increase the productivity, increase the capacity. Frontline workers are who are providing the facilities to increase the productivity part. This is the report for the Poshan Abhiyan. Everything is undertaken in order to improve the health of people, where we are running so low. And malnutrition, this is the major concern nowadays for the Indian economy, where we are running so bad. Facilitate the cross-sectoral convergence, multidimensional nature. Like when we have studied about the food security part in case of Odisha, we have studied about the rice fortification, wherever we are required to add on the nutrients and the minerals in the sources which we are providing to the poorer sections and the beneficiaries, we can add that in order to reduce the deficiencies so that malnutrition would not come into the picture. Good morning, Chandan. Okay, community mobilization. Community mobilization enhance the behavior change and mobilization so that distribution could go well. Okay, distribution, like we are not only concerned with the allocation part. Allocation is okay, making relevance with the production. How much things are being produced or how much things are there in picture. Okay, we are also making the concern with the distribution. Are our food and supplies having the reach towards the beneficiaries or not? This is our major concern. So, what is the basic concern we are talking about this segment? More than half of the funding has gone unutilized. This is the major concern. Continuously, we are making a talk on International Child Development System. Continuously, we are making a talk on midday meal. Continuously, we are just making ourselves concerned regarding the PDS system. Or on other side, we are not utilizing the funding which are already allocated for such kind of programs. Getting my point? So this is the context, the fourth report which has been released. The major concern, the utilization which is going so low into the segment, and we have improved somewhere. And which state has performed so low? That is Punjab, and various low states like small state has performed so bad. And what are the key pointers? We can just discuss it on. We can just make the discussion on the basis of package. Nearly, we have to just provide the services for the first 1,000 days to the children. Okay, first 1,000 days, if we are talking about nearly 3 years, we have to provide the proper meals to that. Second is all about, in order to expand the reach towards the segment which is unreachable, we can expand it by digitalization, and digitalization is coming under the category of technology, which is not at all accessible till the time it is not managed. Okay? For frontline workers is trying to improve the capacity. Obviously, whosoever is making the things deliverable towards you, whosoever is supplying the things to you, it is trying to build a capacity in yourself. Okay? And community mobilization, whatever resources and supplies you have. What do you mean by supply? What do you mean by the supplies? This is the availability of resources, what has been allocated to the people. But we are not only concerned about the allocation. We need to make ourselves sure about whether whatever available resources we do have, is it reachable? It is reached to the segment which is the needed one or not. This should be our major concern in the picture. Okay. So this is all about the segment we are talking about continuously. Poshan Abhiyan program, it needs to improve. Poshan Abhiyan, basically, this is meant for the children. We are talking about first 1,000 days. We were talking about lactating mothers who are going through the same, and pregnant women. Next, launch, you just need to know about the specific target, what has been achieved in 2022, and this was set in 2018. Reduce the stunting and wasting by 2% a year, total 6% until 2022 and target to bring down the stunting among the children in age of 0 to 6 years. What was our target? To decline it to the 5% by 2022. Okay, this was our target, just to decrease the stunting children. What are the stunting children? Height is lower in comparison to the age. Okay, in comparison to the age, height is lower. So this is where we were making the comparison, or our target was to reach to the 25% by 2022. Okay, launched in 2018 with specific target, achieved by 2022, and target beneficiaries were lactating pregnant women and children. Okay, so this was all set on the side. So guys, every day I do take a lecture from 9 to 10. This is for economic static part. And 12 to 1, I have just started. I have just started with the economics. From introductory part to the now initial things are going on. If you want to take the advantage, you can take it. Whatever problem you do have relevant to those topics, you can just let me know in the comment box. Okay, every day I do take class at the time of 12 to 1 relevant to the DNA, which is totally having the economic affair. This is going to establish a kind of comfort zone with the subject which you do face at the time of examination. This is the surety from my end. If you are attending every day like a lecture from the newspapers out of the economics domain, you will not feel uncomfortable at the time of exam. Okay, so do not forget to attend the lecture, both the lectures. It is going to raise the productivity in you. Thank you so much. Have a great day to all of you. If you have any query, you can just put it on in the comment box.